the channel. I'm really excited because I've got Lynn here today, and Lynn is an early bird. And what I mean by an early bird is someone who has purchased a home in the Villages but hasn't moved into it yet, transitioning from her home in Virginia over the next year and a half. And we're really excited to talk to your journey from where you are now, where you're going to be in a year and a half, and why you chose the Villages. So welcome to the channel, Lynn. It's really nice to meet you.
Thank you.
So we were talking earlier, you're in Virginia now, and you bought a home in the Villages how long ago?
November of 2021.
November
It
2021.
was our first time visiting the Villages. We had heard so much about it. Everyone had told my husband and I that we had to check it out. And we actually saw the house on our way down on the Villages app and saw it like our second day and put a contract 3 days later.
Well, November 2021, the Villages homes were selling like hotcakes. Like you didn't get a lot of opportunity to look at 5 or 6 homes because the next day they'd be gone.
Yes, we looked at new, we looked at resales, but kept coming back to that first house and put the contract in just before Thanksgiving. We were on our lifestyle visit.
So was that a resale that you bought in McClure?
We did. Yeah, it was a resale. The previous owner had put a lot into the house, had a pool, the bird cage, hot tub, screen for the garage. I mean, lots of upgrades that we, just it was right in what we would have picked out ourselves.
So now that you're speaking about the resale, you would have had an MLS realtor and a VLS realtor. Is that
we were such newbies. We didn't really know the difference between the two. Our realtor was the Villages realtor. We were only looking on the Villages app. We saw something else on realtor.com, and our realtor said she'd be willing to find us someone to show it to us, but that she couldn't. But like I said, we just kept coming back to that same house.
Right. Was that the first house you saw?
It was the first house we saw. We were driving down to Florida from, we have friends in St. Augustine, and we had been in Hilton Head for 6 weeks because we were kind of looking around at different places. We were thinking about purchasing a retirement home. And on the way down, I was looking on the Villages app and looking at different homes and asked my husband, I said, what's our budget? And he goes, well, if you want to work a year longer, it can be a little higher. And there we were.
The difference between a pool house and no pool house is one more year of work, right?
Exactly. I always wanted a house with a pool, and we absolutely love it. The pool and the hot tub both. So I know that's a whole nother thing that villagers are like, why in the world would you have a pool? And it's like, I like to just sit in the pool and float whenever I want to. And I can't have a float in the neighborhood pools, and I can't just go in them anytime I want to. So
yeah, my wife and I are the same way. There's times that we come back from the squares, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. We think, geez, it'd be really nice just to have a swim because you bought from the cart ride, and you just want to sort of cool off a little bit, but you can't do that because the pools close at dusk. So it'd be really nice to have your own pool.
Definitely. My husband likes to jump in during lunch because we're still working. So, and we work remotely when we can. And, I don't think he would be able to like pack everything up, go to the neighborhood pool, and then come back and then go back to work. So,
yeah, there's a lot of social activity at the neighborhood pools. I think that if I had a pool house, I'd probably do both. But, for the convenience, it's nice to have your own pool in your own home.
Yes, definitely.
So you're transitioning, and what I mean by that is you're not quite ready to be in the Villages yet because you have your home in Virginia. You've got your jobs in Virginia, and you're looking to be in the Villages over the next, 2024-ish is sort of when you want to be there.
Yes.
And in the meantime, you use the home and you rent it out when you're not there.
We do. Yes. Okay. And we've actually been very fortunate. I think because of the pool, it makes the house, it differentiates the house a little bit because we don't rent out the prime months. I have had people reaching out wanting 2025. We still haven't put any dates out for 2024 because we don't know when we'll be down there and when we won't. But like this year, we were there, and last year we were there during the prime months. But we were able to rent out the summer months. But we rent by the week. We don't do anything shorter than 7 days. And we've been pretty successful, having really great renters. Some have been repeat renters. They love the house. They want to come back. And it's just been great. We've had no issues. It's been really nice.
And those renters, are they people that are coming down to look at a home themselves, or they're visiting relatives? What type of
It's
person do you
really a
rent to?
mix. It was so funny last year when we left in the middle of May, and we only had one renter booked for early June. But then like we had a call, it was an email came through, and it was daughters of a gentleman who was having surgery, and they were like, my sister and I need to come in, but we don't want to stay at dad's, but we need to be nearby. We love your house. Could we rent your house? And so they rented like the day before, which always made me a little nervous, but we've actually had that come up a couple of times where people at the last minute are coming to visit family. We had several that were doing that. Then we've got couples that are testing the waters with the villages. We've got somebody coming in September that's been there before, but they're trying out different months of the year just to see what it's like in the villages during different months. So we have several repeat renters, and then I've actually connected two of our renters with houses that were for sale in our neighborhood because they liked our neighborhood so much. So it's a mix of either children or perspectives.
It's
We even
interesting.
got somebody coming in September who's in Claremont. It's a
Wow.
couple that from Claremont that just wanted to check out the villages, wanted to stay in a house with a pool.
That's
So
that's amazing.
the
Yeah,
mix.
I had another discussion with another gentleman named Justin Hagan. He's uh, a snowbird sort of investor, and he said the same thing. When he rents his house out, he's actually doing a service to the villages, because of the renters that have come down, 50% of them have bought a house while they've been down here. So it's amazing how that opportunity comes about, where people come to get their feet wet in the villages and end up buying, right? It's really amazing.
Yes. Yeah, the couple in September, I was asking them, I was like, what kind of pass do you think you'll want? Because they can either have a guest pass or a resident or temporary resident pass. And they were like, well, what's the difference? You know, what is there to do in the villages? And I was like, do you have a minute for a call? Because I cannot put all this in an email.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I spent like 45 minutes on the phone with her just saying, what do you like to do? And, download the Villages app, take a look. You'll just be astounded of all the activities. And then told her about the different rec centers that were within a nice golf cart ride for us, and
Yeah.
to kind of keep a look on those types of activities when planning their stay.
Yeah, and people don't quite understand the difference between the full villages ID compared to the guest pass. And, in a nutshell, it just means that you can't go to the sports pools. But the other advantage of having the full pass is that they can book their own golf on, the golf system. They get their own ID. So it's like sort of you're being there, right? So it is an
Exactly.
advantage to have that. There is a cost to it of $50, but I think it's well worth it to get that done if they can.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It did trip me up as a landlord and resident one time, because my husband and I were then coming down on the heels of having someone there in our house. And we were wanting to book tea times for ourselves. And it was like, oh, we can't, because they actually have our rates right now.
Right.
So we have to wait. But it's been a learning experience in that regard. But
So you think that you're going to be down there full time next year?
yes.
That's the plan. So this is really you being a landlord, is not necessarily you being a full-time landlord for the next 10 years. This is you buying a house when you felt that you could do that based on your employment, based on the interest rates, based on the price of the homes at the time. You jumped into the market, but you
Yes.
weren't quite ready to move down there.
Right. And we didn't have to rent the house out. We kind of were like, well, let's just see how it goes. And if it gets to be too much trouble, we don't need to do it. But if we can, then, let's do it. And it has just been great. We have a wonderful home watch, which we were going to need them anyway to keep an eye on the house. And then we have great cleaners that we use for ourselves when we're there. And that's how we knew, the job that they did. And so we've just got a great team that takes care of things
And the
down
other
there.
thing you mentioned is that you have an amazing relationship with the neighbors on either side of the
Yes,
house and in the neighborhood. Like you've made really close friends just in the short time you've been down there.
we have. Our neighborhood is fantastic. We've got a great women's group, and then the neighbors that just we like to get together on a regular basis. And it was like, I don't want to be annoying. I don't want people to complain about, tenants in the house. And, we did a spot check with our neighbors when we came back for the prime months this month. And it was like, well, how'd it go? Was it,
Mhm.
was it any problem or anything like that? And they were like, no, we hardly even knew anybody was there. The way the villages are, the houses are so close together, but we're in verandas. So we actually have walls separating our houses in the backyard. And then we face out to the golf course. And so they said they hardly even could tell, when people were there or not. So
Right.
that's always a great thing.
But I think
So,
it's
but
good to
it
it's good to
yeah,
differentiate the difference. Like, and I use the word early bird because you really care about your neighborhood and your neighbors because the reality is you're going to be moving into that house and you want to have good relations with those people. You're not
definitely.
just someone who's bought a house that's turned it into a full-time rental and don't really care about the neighborhood. This is where you want to live. So even though you're renting it out, to cover some of your costs, you're doing that in a way that you're respectful of your neighbors and your neighborhood.
I hope so. That's definitely our goal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to sort of become a long-term investor and never step foot in the house, but to actually show your face in your neighborhood and meet your neighbors when renting it, that's a different profile completely. Mhm.
Yes, definitely. And we've been strategic with some of the storage that we have in the garage so we can keep a lot of our things down there and not have to feel like we're going back and forth. Some people are saying, how can you do that? How do you like having strangers in your house? And it's like, well, it's just been a good financial decision for us to make at this point in our life.
Yeah.
To really,
What we do is we have a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom home. And what we ended up doing is we just put a lock on our master bedroom. So all of our stuff stays in our bedroom. And then when we rent out the property, they use the second bedroom and the third bedroom and the other
oh,
bathroom.
wow.
So that works out really well for us because we're not packing stuff up and putting it in boxes. So
Wow.
we just lock the door, and when we advertise it, we say, you do get 2 bedrooms, not three, but usually it's just a couple that's renting the house anyway, so it's not a big deal, right?
Yes, that's a really neat idea. We just have storage in the garage, and then our linen closet, we put a lock on that, and,
Right.
our owner's closet. But that's a clever idea. I've even joked with my husband. I'm like, well, maybe when we're down here full time, we might still want to rent out maybe the month of February
Mhm.
and pay for a lavish vacation for us
Nice.
every year.
Absolutely. Well, that's the way to do it then. Just get a lock for your master bedroom door and keep all your stuff in there, and it works out great for
Very
us.
cool.
Yeah. So in the short term, you're going to continue renting. In the long term, you're going to be living there. And you really are just looking forward to that opportunity in the future. When do you
Yeah,
think you're going to sort of put your foot down and say, okay, this is it. We're going to be there full time?
it's supposed to be April 1st of next year.
Wow. That's
That's
great.
our goal. Yes, less than a year.
That's amazing. That's
Our
great.
daughter decided to make it really, really hard on us and had a baby just last month.
Oh,
But
yes. She,
we're still gonna forge ahead.
you're going to move her into Middleton.
I know, I know. They love it there. They do. They've been very supportive, which has been great. So
That's awesome.
that part does make it nice.
Yeah, get them down into Middleton, then you can see them all the time and they can have a
Yes.
nice lifestyle too.
It is amazing what they're doing down there. I really I hope my husband and I we love, we live in a small town and kept going to the football games even after our kids were grown. So we're really looking forward to that vibe and even just going down there and adopting maybe a kid or two to
Yeah.
support in the stands.
Well, my understanding is the bridge is supposed to be open before the school opens. So the Southern Oaks Bridge or the Bexley Bridge, whatever you want to call it, should be open by end of July, early August in order for transportation to get over to the school. Because I think the schools are opening middle of August.
They
So
are, yes.
and it's not too far off now before all that
No,
happens. I've been watching some other videos and it just looks spectacular. The schools
it's
look
amazing.
amazing. Yeah. So that's great. Well, I really want to, say thank you for joining us today and telling us your journey and your story, because I think it's important for us to talk about these things and talk about how people are transitioning into the villages and how they've come about becoming sort of part-time landlords, but not necessarily long-term landlords.
Hmm.
This is just one journey, one chapter in their book, and eventually we're all going to be down there enjoying the lifestyle when we are ready, which is fabulous, right?
Yes.
So I appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day,
Thank you.
and I'm sure that we'll be bending elbows over at Sawgrass soon.
That's right. I look forward to that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for your day. Take care.
Thank you.